On today's episode of Real Cleveland, we are going to talk about Cleveland's St. Patrick's Day Parade. We are visiting Pat Murphy, who's the executive director of the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We're going to also talk to Pete Lanahan, who is the owner of the Stone Mad. This is the place to be, Cleveland.
Watch me!
We bill ourselves as the largest single-day drawing event in downtown Cleveland. There's no other event that lasts one day that brings this kind of crowd. And on a good day, last year, we were close to 400,000 people. East 3rd and Superior. And that's going to be a great place to watch the parade because that's where all the units are going to be performing. Because as they perform, we have an awards categories. We have awards that we give out. And so the high school bands are going to be doing their best job right in front of the reviewing stand. The dance schools are going to be doing their best job right in front of the reviewing stand. So if you really want to see great performances all the time, that's where you should be.
What's the most outrageous float that is like, wow, what is this?
I'll tell you a really neat one we've had over the last few years. I mean, there's a lot. I would slate people, but let me tell you about a couple that I really like. There's this one, it's called Tim's Wild Creations. And the fellow has these big monster trucks. And one year he painted them all like a bright green. And all the kids in the crowd just loved it. It was really kind of neat. We also have another favorite unit of mine is Lake Metro Parks. And they come in with a horse and carriage. And the fellow who runs that unit is in a green outfit and paints his face all green. And he's standing on the carriage. And it's an impressive unit. You gotta like the high school bands. You gotta like the high school bands. And my favorite of all times is gonna be the West Side Irish American Club and the East Side Irish American Club. Those clubs have multiple units. They have drill teams, fife and drum units, pom-poms, they've got floats, members units. They're both the biggest groups of units we have in the parade. And those kids are working on their parade from about January 1st until St. Patrick's Day. Every Sunday they're at their clubs practicing their marching and their music and their precision drill. So I love to see those units.
Since 1867, Cleveland has been holding this St. Patrick's Day Parade. This is the oldest parade in Ohio, and it started out in New York. And the thing that amazes me about the St. Patrick's Day Parade is that it is not only in Ireland now, it's also in places like Tokyo. It's in Korea, it's in parts of the Caribbean. I never would have thought that the St. Patrick's Day Parade would be all over the world like this.
That's the history of the Irish. The Irish are all over the world.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Have you ever traveled to any of the other parades?
The only other parades I've seen New York's parade, and I've seen a parade in Washington, D.C. Those are the only other St. Patrick's Day parades I've seen. We are the 3rd largest parade in the country. There's New York and Savannah, Georgia are bigger than us. But there's no other city in the country that has a bigger, and I think there's no other parade that has a more entertaining parade.
And we are at this amazing establishment on Cleveland's west side called the Stone Mad. Pete Lanahan is the owner of this beautiful establishment, and this place is absolutely beautiful. So tell me about when you got here and sort of the history of this building.
Well, on the bill, we were 3.5 years on the bill. We'll be open 4 years come April, so good few years down here. But just the history alone of the Irish here in the neighborhood, going back to the church St. Coleman's, and I was born and raised here on the west side. And my dad had an Irish pub growing up, Pride of Erin, so I wanted to do something cool on the west side of Cleveland here.
So you have been here pretty much all your life, and you've watched the evolution of St. Patrick's Day, and you've seen everything happen. How has the parade and the area changed over time?
Well, I spent every St. Patrick's Day for years in a pub, you know, with my dad owning the pub on 123rd and Lorraine, and it was a family-run establishment, and we used from bands all day to Irish music, and even following the next day here, we actually keep the tradition. We do a hair to dog party that goes on again, and it'll be on Sunday this year, on the 18th. So.
We are on the beautiful stone patio here at the Stone Mat on West 65th and Herman. It's unbelievable to me. There's a fireplace here that I imagine could be lit on those cold nights. And this gate over here, there's an iron gate that is absolutely stunning.
He made actually 14 gates all together. Each one's a little different, Celtic designs.
And I love the gate around here as well. It makes it feel so private. Did you do all of this work here in the last few years?
Yeah, this was all done before we opened up. Other than the fireplace, we put that in after we opened up. But this was all done before we opened, and it's an awful lot of stone.
So everybody has a tradition of wearing green on St. Patrick's Day. I wore my green today, and I heard this little tale that if you don't wear green, someone can pinch you.
Wow. I might change the color of my tie and say